Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome here at Crypto Hash Review, where we educate and disseminate information about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies from a Muslim perspective. And today I want to cover a very important topic, um, dealing with, you can almost say, almost like a philosophical, almost like a fundamental grassroots look at what Bitcoin is. Now, Bitcoin, or I should say money, in the past, as we've covered in previous videos, if you refer to the history of money, we covered this. We mentioned that money is, in essence, a manifestation of energy, of work rendered, of resources spent and used. So, for example, I would go out, cut down a tree, move the log of tree to my mill, cut the tree, fashion the tree, shave the tree down, sand it down, build my table, and then I would offer that table for some money. Now, this money that I have received, in essence, is you could say me capturing all that work into a form so I can go somewhere else and spend that energy somewhere else. So I don't want to eat a tree. I don't want to live in a tree. I just want to cut down the tree, work the tree, produce a table so I can then use that effort I put into it, producing something that others want, to later on buy food, pay rent, and so on and so forth. So you can see that money is a means to capture and store effort and energy. And as I put in another way of wording it, it is a way of capturing an IOU from society. Society owes me X, Y, and Z, which is captured in this piece of money that I can use, give to someone else so that they can use it for something else. So basically, money is a means to capture work, effort, and resources. Okay. And in the past, various things have been able, or various materials have been used to capture this work, this energy, this effort, this knowledge. We've used, like for example, we've used shells, we've used metals, we've used coins, and so on and so forth. And I've always mentioned before in terms of gold, so you have to go to the mountain, mine that gold, transport that gold, smelt that gold, fashion it into coins. All of this effort justifies the value of the gold, and therefore gold has captured that energy. And different materials are better at others at capturing and storing this wealth long term. So, for example, if I put effort to farm the field and produce a crop, that produce is all my efforts I've put into this thing. I can either consume it and therefore I've used it, or I can sell it on and get this analog, this money that represents that work, and then buy other things. But over time, if I did nothing with this wheat, it will eventually go off. It will eventually go to waste, and the effort will be lost. It'll be literally lost. So the ability for wheat, for food to capture and store wealth over long periods of time is weak. But as we can see with gold, gold is a lot better at storing wealth over long periods of time, which is why gold has been the preferred choice to store one's wealth over that period of time. If you compare gold to other metals, gold doesn't rust or erode and that kind of stuff. So you can see gold is a lot better of all the metals that are storing, the most inert, you could say, metal that are storing one's wealth over a long period of time. And on top of that, it has an added level of scarcity. It's hard to find, and therefore it can capture more wealth. The more difficult it is, the more energy needed, the more skill needed to produce the thing, means it captured more of our effort. But gold still has a leak. It's a good bucket at holding water, but it still has a leak in that bucket. And that leak is in the use of that gold, in the storage of that gold, in transportation of that gold. It costs. So, for example, if I want to send 1 kilogram of gold from England to India, it would cost me a lot of money in transportation, and I guess insurance. A lot of people get insurance to transport. A lot of these things that are necessary to maintain this gold, and selling it and buying it, there's costs involved. So gold, I think they say on average has about a 10% loss of you could say of storage of wealth over, I think it's about 100-year period of time, which is still good. 10% over 100 years, that's still very good, assuming you can preserve your wealth, your gold from being stolen or confiscated by authorities or an invading party or whatnot. That's one of the bad things about, I guess, all physical forms of wealth, is that it can easily be confiscated. But assuming that's not the case, then yeah. But we live in now a digital age, and I don't think many people really realize this. Because we've lived in this digital age for most of our lives, if not all of our lives, I guess many of us don't really realize how life was prior to just 100 years ago. The digital age has changed almost everything that we do in terms of capturing images, capturing sound, communication, commerce. In almost every faculty of life, every facet of life, there's the electricity and the digital realm. Computers have changed everything. And we've moved most of our business over to the digital. Even now, in terms of governance, in terms of governing, some now I think in America they used you can use online voting now. Education is now online. Entertainment is now online. Gaming, which used to be a physical thing only, is now online. So, or at least not online, or maybe online, but at least on the computer. So everything is moving towards the digital. Everything except money. Money is the only thing that has not been digitized. Now, some may say, okay, wait, you can digitize gold. What you do is you have gold in a vault and you produce a digital signature, or like what we had in the past, paper. Paper was, you can almost say, an analog of gold, and we were able to transact easily using pieces of paper, a certificate. But what we have here is a two-tier system. We have a system whereby the actual value is contained within a thing, and we have an analog that represents that thing. So even if you was to have a digital coin or a digital certificate or token or whatever, or currency, and then you say it's backed by gold, you still have a two-tier system whereby this digital thing actually isn't digitized gold. It's only a representation of physical gold, because you still have the gold in real life. That gold can still be confiscated, and therefore that certificate is now worth nothing. So that certificate hasn't actually captured any value. It only represents value that was captured by something else. So let's analyze, what does it mean to digitize something as opposed to just producing a digital analog. So there was one cartoon that my kids watched almost a decade ago called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was one season where Shredder went into the digital world, he got digitized, and he went into cyberspace. So the turtles had to make this machine that would literally digitize the turtle. So that means that the actual turtle, Raphael, Michelangelo, they would actually go into cyberspace. Now, that was interesting as a means to explain the concept that I'm trying to convey here, is that they were digitized physically, meaning they no longer existed in this world and they now existed in that world, as opposed to a turtle being here and then they produced a digital version of that. That's not digitization. That's producing a digital analog or a digital copy, but that's not digitization of a real life thing. So we need to transfer something, which means to no longer exist here and to now exist there. Even if those want to go far out there, you want to think about it, even if, for example, we were able to upload our consciousness to cyberspace, for example, as long as that physical body still exists, then all you've produced is a copy of yourself. You haven't actually digitized yourself. You haven't made yourself now exist in that world. But we do have examples of digitization of real life things. Right now, you're watching a digitization of me speaking. I am here moving. I am here speaking. The sound is coming from my mouth to the camera. It's being picked up and it's now being captured by the computer, which is known as the camera. And the sound is now gone. After I've said it, the sound vibrated and it's now gone into the ether, no longer exists in the real world and now only exists in the camera. And then when you press play, it brings it back from the digital into the real, and you can experience the same thing again as many times over. That's an example of digitization of a real thing. So cameras digitize an event visually. Microphones digitize a sound audibly. But the thing with these digitizations is that they're not scarce. Once you've captured an image, it can be copied millions of times. Same thing with a sound. If you've captured sound, it can be copied an infinite amount of times. So you can capture something in the real world, but you can't capture its scarcity. Except Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually is a digitization of energy. What that means is you put in energy into the system, i.e. electricity, maybe take a fossil fuel or coal or solar or wind or tidal energy, and you capture that energy, convert it into electricity, and that electricity is being used and consumed to produce Bitcoin. Meaning that we have electricity on one side of the equation, and then after it's been used and destroyed, is now what comes at the other end is a Bitcoin. So this is literally an example of what Bitcoin actually is. It's a digitized version or digitization of energy. So going back to the very beginning of this video, we said that money is an analog, or money is a means to capture energy, capture one's efforts into physical forms that can be used elsewhere. And we're actually now seeing Bitcoin manifest this reality. So miners will find places where they can find cheap electricity. And that is basically where the profit margins exist with miners. And what we're finding now is that we find many places on planet Earth where it's hard to extract the energy in a meaningful manner, or places where energy is extracted and produced but wasted due to the fact that we can't really store electricity long term, not feasibly anyway, where now Bitcoin comes into play, and miners can now capture that wasted electricity or capture the energy that was previously inaccessible and now manifest that energy, that resource, in a meaningful manner so it can be used elsewhere. So imagine we have a small village in Africa or a small town in Asia somewhere, and they have resources there, but no government and no one's going to invest the infrastructure to build that thing, to transport it to the grid, for example. What they could do now is set up a little mining rig in that little town, and they can mine Bitcoin with the energy that's produced in that area. And with that money that they generate from that mining rig, they can now use that to fund schools, build masajid, fund hospitals. So they're now taking the energy that was previously inaccessible to people due to the location, due to the size of it, due to whatever, and they can now manifest that in a physical manner, in a real manner, and actually benefit their community. So Bitcoin is the digitization of energy and resources. Bitcoin is not a waste of energy, it's a means to capture that energy. And it's very important for us to now reassess and relook at how we look at Bitcoin and how we treat Bitcoin, and more importantly, how we treat money. Because at the moment, the money we are using at the moment as a part of this long-standing Ponzi scheme known as fiat money is not capturing energy, it's manifesting a debt, a riba debt at that fact. So when money is produced, it's not produced because someone earned it and worked for it and produced it. Actually, they're bringing forward the efforts of the future to benefit the people of the present. And we have a whole dedicated video which will hopefully explain in detail how our current system that we are in is a Ponzi scheme. But put that aside, Bitcoin is the best, most ethical means of producing money and wealth, and is actually an avenue and means for people to generate wealth and income from resources and avenues that were previously not available to them. We hope you find this video very beneficial. Please leave a comment in our comment section. I make it a task to always reply to every single comment that comes in my videos. Maybe one day when I have thousands of comments, I won't be able to, but whilst the comments are very little at the moment, please leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm. Like this video, subscribe. And if you want any further information about this video, what I've said, we have a blog version for all our videos on our website, crypto-review.com. Jazakallah khair for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.